Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Provocations, Conversations, Iterations series. This is part of the ongoing Provocations Project facilitated by Jessica Rajko, John MacCallum, and myself, Teoma Naccarato. Presently, the Provocations is part of Slow MoCo, the extended format of the Conference on Movement and Computing. And this project has been going on for some years. A couple of years back, we put out an open call for provocations on the question of what aspects of your practice and research are invisible to your collaborators. So we've been collecting provocations over time, and we've invited here today 3 provocateurs, those who have submitted provocations, to share briefly their provocations and also to discuss and exchange their provocations in relation to one another. And Joanna has volunteered to share first.
Yes, so my provocation was admitted through a fictional persona that I have created as a part of a project called Barnacle Art. Her name is the hostess, and she's not present here today. It would be a bit much, I think, but I would just kind of refer to what she has written, because she is a fallen artist, or she's an artist that is not very successful. So she kind of decided that she would rather actually steal other artists' audience, actually, and she calls that barnacling art done by the other artists, as she has said in her provocation. You probably wonder who I am. Of course you do. I'm an artist, and I'm falling as an artist. Nobody comes to my performances, nobody's engaged in what I'm doing. There are too many artists. I'm not worthwhile. I'm a disappointment. Incapable, inadequate, incompetent, inferior, and so on. And she chooses then to do something about that in another way, as I said, as I mentioned, through stealing, in a way, audience. But it is a kind of relationship that does enhance the art of other artists, and does always tell the story of the hostess, the falling and the fault art, the not that successful artist. But to this inquiry, she wrote a very specific and vulnerable text, I think, or a speech. In the provocation, contributors were asked to draw on their own experiences to address several questions. Questions of exclusion, visibility, expertise, and collaboration. And the hostess said, I'm both. Within, a part of, excluded, consists of the representations of time, movement, body, interaction, and gestures, mine and not mine. Hence, I do not exist. I do not own or claim any knowledge. I do not collaborate. I simply barnacle your art. Would you like me to barnacle your art? After this provocation, and during the past year, I've been working on some. Me, Joanna, not the hostess, been working on other parts of this universe, and as well other thoughts about being an artist. Not that visible, actually, in many ways, because this is a difficult time in many ways we are living in. And I think some of the things that I've been thinking about goes through the idea of also for the hostess to make a connection in this time and history between what has been, what is, and what is coming to be at the same time, and framing this in a way that kind of connects this complexity and this orientation we are experiencing, making it visible. But that still, this is a very difficult part of making something visible. But yeah, it's still a process, so it's a bit difficult to kind of collect all the thoughts at the same time. But in many ways, the visibility of any collaboration is, in a way, through the host, is very present, because she is very present and very she's still in the audience, but at the same time she is not the artist. It's another person's artistic work that is enhanced, and so with the name of the artist. Yes, I don't know, what should I tell more about this?
I think that's perfect. And as we enter into the discussions together, we can go even deeper. Yeah, thank you.
I can ask a question.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, like, how you define failure in your own practice.
Well, as the hostess or as Joanna, the artist?
Depends who I'm talking with.
Yeah, exactly. You are talking with Joanna, so that's probably, yeah. I think I've connected a bit with Lauren's text as well, because there's something similar in this understanding of the conservative way of thinking what art is. But it actually happens, the whole project started with this experience of being invisible as an artist. Because I was a part of a conference that was not that good, that was not organized that well, and there were too many parallel sessions, and I was the one that did not have a name of any kind to be visited, so I kind of stood alone with my presentation, and nobody came, literally. And then I was in a specific place that was a boathouse on an island, and some tourists arrived, and the presentation was artistical as well, and I just stealed them. I just invited them into the artwork, and it was a very difficult ethical dilemma, because they were there and they were asking about the installation, and I just have nothing to do, so I kind of included them into the installation, although they were not there to see that. And it's from that, yes, this is a very real problem for many artists. I think that we actually do many beautiful, interesting things. I don't know if I do, but well, and there's a lot of work put into that, but there's yeah, we do not always accommodate the,
I'm sorry, I just want to jump in.
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
This is opening so many wonderful issues, and I think there are going to be really great connections between the three provocations. And part of the idea is we want to hear from each of you right away, just a brief sort of 3-minute introduction to your provocation, and then we'll keep going into all of the questions and connections between them.
Sorry.
No, it's great. It's great. So Federico, if you want to share about your provocation, and then we'll have Lauren share, and then we can enter again into open conversation.
Sure. Yeah, I'll read my provocation as it was submitted, I think 2 years ago. Is it? 2 years ago, yeah. When I collaborate with artificial agents to explore ways of interacting with sound through body movement, I deliberately curate the set of body motion features that are visible to them. I hide what I believe is not useful for my purposes and design their perception of their environment to my own liking. However, some deep learning algorithms are notoriously black boxes. it is impossible to observe incoming data and outgoing data, but their internal operations, sorry, I correct myself. It is possible to observe incoming data and outgoing data, but their internal operations are often difficult to explain in ways that are easily understandable by humans. Something is visible, yet something is concealed or incomprehensible. This lack of mutual understanding can be at times fun or frustrating, a source of anxiety as well as of inspiration. Yeah. I would have submitted something different now, so it's interesting to read it again.
Should I go? Okay, so my project has some connections with Joanna's in terms of exploring exclusion and expertise. And I think it came from a place where I was asking, do we need to claim mastery in order to be visible or in order to be heard? And so I'm just going to read you the second part of this provocation because I wrote better than I can talk. We confine ourselves to what we have learned before through happenstance and encounter, afraid to venture into new territory where we cannot call ourselves master. But there is always more to learn. Yet we silo ourselves into predetermined boxes of thinking and knowing, cliquish echo chambers who try to immortalize ourselves through text. But the static words, voiced or unvoiced, will never match the power of the tide. It adheres to a natural rhythm set in motion by countless forces, invulnerable to takebacks or rewrites. It carries memories that reverberate until their force is spent. And then I say that I keep skirting the tide because I think I'm also sometimes struggling with people who have only been in my field, which is technically it's communication. It's what my PhD is in. And a lot of people who fall more on the social science spectrum of this field want these clear lines of mastery. And I think even in terms of in interdisciplinary collaborations that I've been a part of, people have asked like, okay, so what would a communication scholar say? And I kind of feel like as an interdisciplinary scholar and as an artist, like, well, I don't know. If you want what a conventional communication scholar would say, who would only look at it from communication, you have to ask somebody else. I can pretend to answer this question, but I'm probably not going to give you the answer you're looking for. So I think it goes back to the question of, should we aim for mastery? And I think to bring this 2-year-old provocation into the present, I've been so happy to see work like by Julietta Singh, whose book is titled Towards Unmastery, and to be part of different collaborations and panels with people that are working to look at unmastery through different avenues.
Well, thank you to the three of you. Some interesting connections there. So this is a good moment to bring your questions to one another.
Joanna, I had a question similar as Federico for you. You talked about failing upward in your provocation. So what exactly, could you say more about what it means to fail upward?
It's I don't remember exactly now, but it is a phrase that is used in another part of society. I don't remember which. Is it like, yeah, it is, yeah, I remember now, sorry. It's amongst financial advisors and at the stocks exchange. If you fail, then you fail upward. You start from, you kind of have a crash, and then by failing you fail upward because you kind of can be a wild horse and do something using others because you don't, if you are successful, you kind of use the standards, right? The mastery, you could say. The specifics of a society that kind of says this is an artist, or this is a financial advisor. There's a set of rules, and this is the way to do it. If you fail at it, you can start from another perspective and do something completely different. And then you fail upward through that, as far as I remember. It's like getting popular on other behalf, but through others, but doing actually a good work at it. Yeah, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Being an artist, not through own art, but through others' art, but kind of doing something good with it, not just stealing it either, or the audience, right? I think it was like something like that. Yeah, but you should. I'm sorry to say that, but one should Google that, then it comes up as a term actually. But
yeah,
I was thinking, yeah. Oh. No, sorry, yeah.
Your provocation reminded me of something that Joel Kupperman said when he's talking about Confucianism, the East Asian philosophical tradition. And he says, you can never know the end of an act's resonance. And your provocation made me think of that, because not only in the context of ambiguous stealing, but just you never know how long something you put out in the world will inspire other people. And it's not like it has to be completely divorced from the source of inspiration, because that would almost be a lie, right? And we're so consumed with this idea of individuality and the new in Western thought. Like, in order to be credible, I have to produce something new. I have to call it something new, and I have to claim that it's something new, instead of paying tribute to all of the things that affected our thinking and our inspiration. So I don't know if I don't know exactly what you're doing, but I would pause before I say it's stealing.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you for that. It's kind of pushing in this way, but it is really, the project is much more sympathetic that I'm making it, trying to make it as because I really, but it's difficult to sell it in that way, because this has to be with a distance and a cynical approach. Otherwise, it will be not a double enough in it. I think the distance is necessary, but it's really cherishing the artist that the hostess is talking about or presenting. She does tours in art galleries, presenting the works, but at the same time doing a performance when she has the opportunity to do that. It's not that often these days, but yes. I would like to ask you something, Lauren. I have also a question for Federico, but since we are talking, if that's okay, because well, we connected on that level, right? Because I was thinking a lot about exactly that, the meeting point between the past and what it's kind of necessary to master something, or what the society tells you is the right way of doing art, or what is the right way of producing anything artistical, and now we are standing in, and I was thinking about our kind of future projections, and is it possible to find, or maybe you have a positive experience of this in between mastery and the new discovery, the vulnerable position where you try something out that is not what you actually can do as an artist, or I
think so. I don't know if I would say it's exactly in between, but I have found that when I plan a collaboration, and I don't go into that collaboration with a very set agenda, but instead I allow myself to be inspired by what other people bring to the table, which is also kind of why I strategically didn't want to go first here. So I'm sorry you had to take on that burden. But I really love what happens in that space where we create something that to onlookers' eyes might seem like mastery because it's so cool, but we create something that is the direct product of the synergy that we produce together in the space, of our ideas together, of our energies, of our mutual inspirations. And I think whether that happens in an ephemeral art form like performance, or whether that happens in something that ultimately becomes more codified like a paper, it's a really exciting place to be. And I think it's a lot more of a, I think it's really common in certain practices like contact improvisation in dance terms, or jazz improvisation if you're a musician. I came up with a term for this in my dissertation called interdependent poesis, which is a mouthful, but yeah, I hope that answered your question. Want to ask Federico a question?
You asked if I want to ask, or?
Oh, no, sorry. Joanna said that she had a question for you.
No, I will wait. I'm sorry. Yeah, I will wait with that. I thought maybe Federico has a question for you as well, because we were talking
yeah, I mean,
about
I do.
talk,
I can go first. Sure. Yeah, I actually was wondering if you ever jumped in the tide.
Yeah, I've jumped in the tide.
That's a good question.
I think I wrote this a little bit after my family took us on a vacation in Hawaii, so I was inspired by that.
Yeah, also the metaphorical one. That.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
I think so too. That was a good question. Because I was thinking that there's something in the idea of, you can do that through collaboration, but I was thinking one can do that also just by trying to to merge one's area of expertise with something that is not exactly that, but still in some way or another nearby, I could say. I'm educated as a drama and theater performer, but I love working with film, and I cannot do film, but I can do dramaturgy, and mastering one of it and doing something else that I do not very good at. I was thinking about if it's that the way is that kind of mirrors in what you were talking about in the provocation. I don't know if I made that clear.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does when, especially if you're doing it in service of that desire in you to produce something that aligns with what you feel like is your reason for being on this earth. And I got tired at one point of just like talking about connections to things that I've experienced, but that I wasn't a master in. And I just read some sources about that from people who were masters in them, and then started bringing them into my scholarship. Because I was using Chinese medicine theory, for example. I'm not a Chinese medicine doctor, but I've been a patient many times and I agree with the philosophy. So then I use certain theories from it and use that to develop a different research methodology. So I guess I don't have to be an expert in it, but I can use it in service of something else that I believe in.
I wanted to actually jump in because I one of the things that really found interesting about all three of your provocations is, I think when we wrote this call, we were thinking a lot about like the people in the room and these collaborative processes that tend to be interdisciplinary with multiple people. But all three of your provocations feel like they sort of like resist a sort of individualistic notion of who we collaborate with or what we collaborate with. And Federico, I think one of the things was interesting is when you wrote very specifically about collaboration with algorithmic collaboration. And I think there's something
something really interesting about that. And when I reread it from the perspective of like thinking about it through people, there was a lot of similarities around some of the ways that people talk about human-to-human collaboration. And so I just wanted to ask you a little bit more about what you see as your collaborative process in relation to, you know, what you wrote, but also in this discussion that's emerging already.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like I kind of yeah, this is tricky, but like when I reread the provocation now, actually, like I don't know, maybe this is kind of tangential, but like I sort of questioned whether or not I would see like what if like something being visible and understood requires some kind of conscious being on the other end for making it visible and understood. And so like if the question would like was not visible to like your collaborators, I wonder, like I sort of like question my own provocation by asking myself if it was you know, like me trying to anthropomorphize like algorithms, and then like I extended that thought by thinking about, you know, like how like people like attribute agency to musical instruments, and so how those then they become collaborators. And then so I sort of look back to my own question to myself, and I said, okay, maybe it's just a question of agency there more than like consciousness or understanding, etc. And so like then collaboration becomes more encounter of agents, of people, like of things acting somehow, following their own, let's call it nature, like the way they are in terms of, you know, what they respond to and what they find stimulating. And so like that perhaps can, you know, after all this talking, this perhaps reconnect also to what Lauren was talking about, like regarding you know, interdisciplinary collaborations, and like perhaps reacting to a certain like things from like the perspective of your own discipline, but like in a way that somehow reconfigures the other's discipline. And so like basically collaboration becomes some sort of way of reconfiguring each other's agencies. Does it make sense?
That was really eloquently said.
Oh, okay, thanks. It wasn't prepared.
A reconfiguration of each other's agencies. I like it.
Thank you.
I have a very strange question, and I have no idea if it does make sense, but I've asked you or commented on the Discord if it was possible to visualize in any way make a representation of those invisible parts and algorithms. But is it possible also to invent new metaphors about them? I don't know if that makes sense. But this, I'm very interested in this something that is there that we don't know what it is, or you don't know what it is, or it's hidden, but it's there still. And can it be, yeah, something completely different? Is it possible to make this visible in any other way? It doesn't have to be directly what through what you do, but maybe in another manifestation or something like that.
I've thought about this for a while too, because so Jess and I were both at ASU, and they had this amazing synthesis lab in the Matthews Center where you could go in and they would like, you'd walk around the floor and move around, and they would trace different like heat patterns and like motion on these big screens on the wall. So when my friend was temporarily in charge of that center, I was dreaming of like, oh, like what if we somehow could like visualize what people were thinking but not saying, or like the energy that was like kind of, you know, latent or virtual and not actualized. I don't know if that would actually be possible, but it's a cool pipe dream.
I think that's a beautiful opening, but also place to bring the conversation to a close so we can continue in other venues. And Jessica, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like you have all sort of moved into a whole new provocation in and of itself. So thank you for bringing that full circle. Yeah.
So we will continue this conversation hopefully through the Discord for Slow Moco, and as we share this video, we'll also share links to each of the provocations from these 3 provocateurs, and the series is ongoing, so we'll continue to have discussions with other people that will come out in the following weeks. So thank you so much to the 3 of you for joining us today in this conversation, and there's, you know, so much more we will hope to discuss with you as we go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very nice and interesting. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, thank you. It was fun.
Everyone.